It's time for Cutting Edge Consciousness with Freeman Michaels and Barnett Bain. Thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
And welcome to Cutting Edge Consciousness. Freeman Michaels here without Barnett Bain. He is still on vacation. I want to take vacations like that. Why do you do 2-week vacations? Who gets 2 weeks? But again, when Barnett's out, we have a friend who can come and play. Liana Chaouli, our dear friend, is back on Cutting Edge Consciousness, this time sitting in Barnett's seat and co-hosting. Liana, for those of you who don't know, who haven't seen her on this show before, she is the founder and president of Image Therapists International. She is an international writer on issues of fashion and consciousness, which is an interesting blend. She is a wisdom teacher in the realm of how we show up in the world, and she shows up big time. And I'm grateful, Liana, that you're showing up today here on Cutting Edge Consciousness.
Not grateful. I'm ecstatic.
Yes.
I'm excited. I'm happy. I got a lot of reasons to be excited. And happy.
Yes,
this
you
being
do.
one of them.
All right. So now, that's interesting, Liana. You just serve that up for me.
I know.
We're-
I do a great job.
You did a great job.
Right into that one.
I did. So let's talk a little bit about being so excited, because the topic today is relationships. Mm-hmm. You have a new relationship.
Well, let's just say it's budding. How about that?
A budding relationship.
Yeah, it's budding. And it's like this, you know when you see something and you've kind of been, your vision has been veiled? Because my vision's been veiled. It's been veiled, and the veil has been lifted. Gently, lovingly, and graciously lifted.
It's a great use of language, because we talk in terms of lifting the veil on this show, in terms of a sense of separation,
Right.
that we're separate from that which is
Me, that which is me.
Yeah, that which is, I'm going to use language here, a bit of a birthright, because the connection, the part of feeling really connected to another person, having a relationship, is, in my mind, very much a birthright. It's something where, we are not meant to run around as individuals. We are meant to interact.
Be in pairs, and heaven is entered 2 by 2.
Yeah, and our mutual friend, Marianne Williamson, likes to say that intimate relationships are the Holy Spirit's laboratory for our maximum growth.
The house
That we
buckled.
actually step into a sacred opportunity when we invite someone into our lives in that kind of intimate
Right.
way.
Well, that's how I feel right now. I have been given this amazing gift, I mean, I think that all relationships are an amazing gift. The relationship to my daughter, to my grandchildren, to you.
All of our relationships are a tremendous gift. This is important.
They are,
Because,
all of them.
well, because we both have ostensibly failed relationships. We've both been married and divorced.
No, failed?
Well, this is
Come on, Freeman.
I set that up on purpose. That is the language, the vernacular that's common to our cultural programming, if you will. But you and I don't do it that way.
To the run-of-the-mill programming. So you and I mean, my belief system is lived from inside a different paradigm.
Yes.
And so, they call it tier 1, tier 2, tier 3.
Yeah.
So tier 1 is, you're to blame and I win and you win.
We call this the first story, but yeah,
Right.
tier 1's
so
fine.
you win, I lose. And it's not. They're all gifts.
Yeah.
The ones that come for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, no matter what it is, it's a gift.
It is a gift.
And as Tom your wonderful engineer just said, the short ones are a really big gift. Sometimes those like flashes, that's like a match, that's, wow, man, that just woke me up.
Sure. Yeah. So in terms of waking up, in terms of lifting this veil, and yet prior to lifting the veil, you worked on creating a sense of vision of what you wanted to generate and create. Your language, because I know you very well, it was a matter of attraction. You really didn't want to go out and promote yourself. You wanted to draw to yourself someone who was willing to meet you in an energy field that you were generating and creating vis-a-vis vision, right?
So my sense of life, in all the domains of my life, the conscious creation of life, which is a lot of what I do. I mean, my work is seeing the vision, which is seeing the brilliance in other people.
Seeing the potential.
Seeing actually the brilliance.
Okay.
It's potential is something that's out there, but
Right.
brilliance is inside.
Oh, no, that's a great distinction.
It's like there's the
Yes.
vision of brilliance inside, and when I see you or anyone else, I see the brilliance.
Yeah, I meant that, but it's interesting because I'm talking about seeing through self-protection, seeing through this sort of adaptive personality stuff, the
Right.
stuff we take on to
Right.
get by, to be liked, to survive. In
Seeing
large
through
measure.
the fortress.
Seeing through the fortress.
So we
Beautifully
have
put.
fortresses around our heart. We have fortresses around our spirit. Most of us believe that we need to keep ourselves safe and guarded. And the truth is, you keep it safe and guarded, and nothing comes in and nothing goes out.
That's right.
Or little goes in and little comes out.
All right, so let's talk about this because you underwent.
Underwent.
I
underwent it.
That goes under your trousers. No, you underwent a process.
No, I chose. No, not no. I would rather call it. I chose to step into on a playing field with a wonderful, wonderful teacher who has built a space in his heart for humanity to grow.
Okay, so we are talking about today's guest.
Yes,
Tom
we are.
Feldman is going to join us in a minute here. And Tom is a world-class authority on creating flourishing, thriving relationships with a special focus on creating love in relationships. Tom is a founding member of the Association of Transformational Leaders, of which you and I are both members as well. He is a board chair of the Forge Institute and was a professor of communications at Woodbury University. And today, he's here with us talking about relationships. Tom, welcome.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, good
How
morning.
are you?
Good.
So good to have you here.
It's really good to be here.
So you're the guy responsible for all of this. No, you see, Liana knew where to go because you're really proficient at helping people align their choices, their energies, their practices in a way that allows them to attract rather than go out and seek. And I want to start right there. What was the process when Liana said, okay, Tom, I'm really ready. You're the relationship expert. I'm really ready to draw to myself a mate who's going to be really compatible, where we can meet in this space of love.
I started with Liana speaking about what it was, where she was at, simply acknowledging where she was at in her relationships. And I asked her, would you take a look at all of your relationships and see what's so about those relationships? Look for a pattern.
The
And
pattern word.
and when he says all, trust me, he means all.
We're
okay?
talking holding hands in fourth grade.
We're like, okay, open up the book and write them down.
That's fantastic.
The big work here is the work of self-transcendence.
Yeah.
The work of seeing your pattern and then not only being willing to move past it, but actually moving past it.
Yeah.
So it's to transcend and include your past.
Right. And the include part may be the hardest part because, we've all talked about this and it's been brought up many times on this show, where we come to the kind of work all of us do initially with a sense that something needs to be fixed or changed or there's something not right with us. And the include part is where we integrate, where we allow for the patterning as an expression of in large measure, a lineage. I mean, this is often just inherited patterns. We took on the behaviors and the belief structures of mom and dad and whoever other influencers are in our lives, present and past, meaning there's a lineage, right, Tom?
We typically will take on the modeling of the primary caregiver,
right,
who has taken on the modeling of their primary caregiver back as long as you can remember. And so what people tend to do is they tend to recreate their primary caregiver in their relationship. At certain points, they will oppose it, but that's really part of the same activity because it's a reaction to the same underlying stimuli.
We've talked about this in the show. When we're reacting to something, we're actually locking it in place. If there's a story that we don't like, our not liking it is actually feeding it energy and thereby, in essence, recreating it or, Liana, attracting it.
Yes. So when I say I live my life by attraction rather than promotion.
It's true whether you like it or not.
It's like, you could be attracting through negative patterns.
That's right.
And so it's like very simple. It's like clear and simple. And I got to this place when I met Tom 2 years ago. This is before I started the year program with him. I was very, very clear about what I had attracted. I mean, it was painful.
Yeah.
And so when Tom and I started talking, I wasn't out there going, he did, and he did, and he did. And I was already in this.
And in ownership. You were already past the victim consciousness into a sense of, I'm really ready to own this.
Right. I mean, first was the victim thing.
Right, of course.
Then it
It's
was
a stage of development.
Then it was your fault and my fault. And
right.
and then it's like all the, oh, poor me. And, we go through all that. And I had a lot of, I most probably still do in working through it. I have, from wherever it comes from, and it doesn't really matter because I say after 35, it doesn't matter where it comes from, it's yours.
That's right.
So this was mine, 25.
Right.
It's after 25, it's mine. I take responsibility for it. And so I was in this system within myself that is like this part of me gets outside of myself and says, so why are you doing this? And why do you keep doing it if it's not working? And so when I went to Tom, I said, can you just please reflect back to me from a place of knowledge and wisdom and the construct,
right?
The understanding, like the PhD in relationships that we never get. We never get it. It should be taught in schools like what Tom does. Needs to be taught in high school.
Absolutely.
That's my belief system.
Yeah.
It's like we all need it.
Okay.
And then he just put it together in a way. I mean, Tom, you may want to talk about this because you constructed it in a way that I could really hear him. So just talk about that.
But I want to move through this in a particular way because we started with the looking back. But it's the looking back to move forward, because the moving forward in the sense of a future and a vision of what's possible is the critical piece. I want you to speak to what Liana was talking about, this sort of way of looking at the past that's very constructive versus what we were talking about earlier, this sort of destructive patterning of saying, yuck, that was bad, something's wrong with me, I need to be fixed. This way of holding it that allows us then to move into potential and possibility and all of that.
Well, each person is whole and complete. And to start from there rather than we're broken.
Even if you don't feel like it, darn it.
Right,
That's right. Because we all don't feel like it some days, right?
And certain days we have bad days.
That's right.
But we're all whole and complete, and we're all always attached to divine energy by whatever name you would call it. And so part of the work here is to get back in the experience and get back in the flow, and to recognize that your best self is the self that you want to bring forward at each and every day of your life. And if your mate is not encouraging you and supporting you and calling you up to that, then there's a conversation that needs to be had.
It's so easy in the honeymoon period. I'm going to call it that. I know
call it the honeymoon period.
And yet, at some point, we enter a different stage after the honeymoon is, I don't want to say over, but it's waned a little bit, and our pricklies are coming up, and all of our past is in the present being played out as a pattern with whoever the new dance partner is, right? That's where things really become, what's the rigor of your practices, what's the quality of your vision, and that's what I'd like you to speak to, Tom.
Where I come from with this is that it's essential to have a vision. And a vision is a place to come from into your world. It's not a goal.
Right.
And so it's a place every day, every moment when you wake up in the morning and you live your life, you come from that. If you have a vision that calls you to be, you will see the world differently.
It recontextualizes everything. It's a new frame of reference.
And literally you see with new eyes.
Yes.
And with those eyes, the question is, in each and every moment, what are you creating? And who are you becoming? And who is your mate becoming? And in interacting, we have interactions where they can be tough. We sometimes have tough circumstances that we have to deal with. But even so, what are we creating and who are we becoming?
Okay, now one of the things I want to touch upon, we're going to need to take a quick break. When we get back, you got hit over the head with, you and your wife, Bev, who's a friend of all of ours, I mean, yours, obviously, because you're married to her, but both Liana and I are friends with Bev as well. You got hit over the head in a substantial way, and I want to talk when we get back about how the vision helped you move through that. We'll be right back. Stay with us here on Cutting Edge Consciousness.
Welcome back to Cutting Edge Consciousness, thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
And welcome back to Cutting Edge Consciousness. Freeman Michaels here with my guest co-host, Liana Chaouli, and our incredible guest, relationship expert, Tom Feldman. Before we went to break, Tom, we were talking about the vision and how it sustained you and Bev through a really tricky period, a prolonged period of real challenge. So I want to get the proof in the pudding, as it were, and talk about that, because this was not just a theory. This is not something you just kind of, it's a nice philosophy and I espouse it in terms of, intellectually. This is something you depended on, and it's been more than reliable in your own experience. Can you talk about that?
Sure. We had a very serious situation occur with our daughter some years ago, and she first became ill with what looked like the flu, and then she became very, very seriously ill. And she was misdiagnosed by 20 or 30 doctors. And she became so ill that we had to take her out of school. And we were very concerned. There was nothing that we were doing. There was nothing that the doctors recommended that either stabilized her or made her better.
And she was in excruciating pain.
And she was in excruciating pain.
Yeah.
This went on for many, many months. And very early in the process, within the first week or two, I sat down with my wife and created a vision for us to carry us through this period. And the vision was that our daughter is healthy and pain-free. And that's not a dream. That was a place we came from into the world.
Yeah.
And so the dissonance that created in our world was something that then opened our eyes to possibility. So that she was sick and in terrible pain, and what we were creating as a act of conscious creation was that she's healthy and pain-free.
And you were committed to that.
Fully committed to that.
This is a critical piece, because the level, we all have a lot of shared language because we've done a lot of work together and in similar circles, having to do with your action is an expression of your commitments. There's a real difference between the conceptual self and the actualized self, the person I'm being, which is really what you're speaking to, the way of showing up where I'm so committed to this as a quality of how I want to be and how I want to relate to this challenge that's showing up.
But I would say not how I want to be, but how I am being.
Thank you. Really good. Yes.
So that in each and every moment, this illness required that one of us was with her 24 hours a day for 6 years. And this was really not easy. It wasn't not easy for us, and it wasn't, but it was very difficult for her.
Yeah.
And she was young. How old was she?
This started when she was 13.
Unbelievable.
So homebound,
Yeah.
bedridden.
Excruciating pain. I know. I get it. Yeah.
You know what? I
mean, I don't get it. I'm not trying to assume that I've been there. I get how unbelievably challenging this must have been. Go ahead,
Yeah. What I see in this story, which is what I relate totally to the way we live our lives, or the way I've lived my life, is that we see a challenge. The quote unquote conventional way of being is that we see a challenge, and the challenge is out there, like a battle to be fought. Or
an opportunity to be embraced.
Right. So when we come at it from an opportunity to be embraced, but the conventional ways of being are, there's a hindrance and I got to go up against it.
Yeah.
So what Tom has taught me has been I teach this thing called Liana's triple A plan. So it's the first A is awareness, the second A is acceptance, and the third A is action. to have an awareness, and then to take a mindful action. And he's taken this to a whole other level, because what he brings you into is a space of being in it, being in the awareness, being in the mindful action, being it.
Right.
And for me in the beginning, that was like a, I don't know, Tom, what was it like? It was like you talk about it, because you're my mentor, and I was in it, and I was like,
Well, the difficulty is constantly creating your actions to be consistent with who you're becoming.
That's it.
that was it.
Well,
That's
finding expression. So let me move back a second, because again, so much of this is mirroring stuff we've talked about on the show, and obviously the work that I do as well, is where our actions are an expression of our held intent, right? That's where we get our behaviors in alignment with what we say we want, right?
What we create.
Yeah.
Each moment,
Yeah.
many people do
That's
not
great.
dwell in the possibility that each moment is a creative moment, or can be a creative moment. Most people are informed by their past. But if we make the future more important than the past, and I don't mean this in some sort of conceptual way, I mean this in a practical, everyday, lived way. If there's a lot of work to be done in the world. There's a lot of work to be done with humanity. There's a lot to be done. And if we're constantly informed by the way things were, we're not likely to succeed with it.
Yeah.
We need to be looking forward into what we want to create, what we want to be true, and to be creating that in each and every moment.
Well, and I'll say this: looking out there is a distraction. If we get too caught up in what's wrong out there, we're missing the opportunity. What's wrong out there is a giant mirror to look at the parts of us that are aligned with what's showing up, because the opportunity here is to be the change, to be what it is that we want to create and generate in the world, versus looking out and pointing. And again, if we find ourselves doing that, we're disempowering the real creative force that is in us to create and manifest that which will have an effect outside of us on the world. Liana, bringing in this new relationship and fostering it from this conscious vantage point where you're aware of the patterning, you're aware of what you've created and generated in the past, but you are all about the commitment to your vision and the expression of that in every choice. What is that? Because it's been a long time since I was in the honeymoon stage. I mean, my wife and I have a renewed honeymoon stage in moments because of our vision and our commitments, which we've been working with since the beginning of 2004, 2005, somewhere in there. We developed our vision, which has changed everything.
Yeah.
But I wonder what it would look like, because we didn't have it at the very beginning of our relationship. We came to it
The vision,
when
you
things
mean?
got tricky. Yeah, I'm just curious. What's it look like to be creating choices from sort of day one from that vantage point?
Well, what's interesting is that this has nothing to do with him.
No, of course.
And so I come to this, I've been dating, so my old relationship's been over for about a year and a half, and this whole process with Tom has been an acknowledgement of what really is, So Tom has this saying where he says, he is the spark. Tom, say it. Can you please say it?
Who I am is the spark in the gap between who a person is and who they're called to be.
That's delicious.
So who a person is, at best, is their vision. And who a person is called to be is that silent whisper saying, over here, not over there. And hooking up your passion, your vision, with your calling is a powerful way to live life.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
I'm in this space where I'm meeting, I'm going out with men, and I notice that I am so different. There's this lightness.
Yeah.
There is from the vision, from inside the vision of what my life is. It's not about where my life can go and what can I do tomorrow. It's where is it from the place that I am in this moment. And I've, from this place, which is very new and has like this humongous sense of freedom around it, I'm noticing that I make these choices that are so grounded. And sometimes I like get outside of myself and I go, oh my God, did you just say that?
Yeah.
You just said that. That's so cool. You know, whether it's, I say today that I am more defined by the things I say no to than the things I say yes to.
Right.
You know, and
But
so
it's not a reactive no. It's a
no,
responsible
it's
and
like
responsive
a decision.
no. Yeah.
Right. It's a choice.
Yeah. It's that's great because that's an important distinction. It's interesting because I have some of the recovery background stuff in my experience. And so much of that, though I understand it's developmental and I'm not intending to put it down, I will just say personally, a lot of that, the early boundaries, if you will, the early no's were reactional. They weren't about, because, you know, I didn't come from the visioning stuff came to me later in my processing. I really came to the kind of work you and I do from a therapy, I want to fix it, there's something wrong with me,
Yeah.
you know, perspective. So wasn't able to hold a vision. Thereby, all these initial boundaries were reactional. They weren't responsive.
Right.
They weren't about what I'm creating and generating. And then the no becomes very simple. It's either in or it's out.
Yeah, but Tom's work is profoundly. I can only say that it's like a guidance system.
Sure.
So he doesn't give you a blueprint. You know, he is the conduit between who you are, wrapped up in all the anger bubble. For me, that was it. You know,
Anger,
I was
hurt,
angry.
whatever, yeah.
I was hurt. You know, Carolyn Mays talks about woundology, and
Yeah.
so Tom's vision of blossoming a spirit into full freedom of existence. Because the full freedom of existence is where I find myself to be in choice, where I listen to that quiet voice and I go, oh my God, it's over there. If I can just get quiet enough to feel the insides of my eyelids, you know, Tom calls it something else. I call it listening to the insides of my eyelids.
Yeah.
Then I can actually hear it. But my conversations were so damn loud. I mean, they were so loud, you know, and the assessments were so loud, and the whatever else was going on.
All the adaptive personality stuff.
All of it,
Self-protection
all of
and
it,
the
all of
identified
it,
self
all
and all
of
of that.
And
yeah.
so, I mean, Tom, you can...
We live in a new time. Since about the late 60s, relationships have changed profoundly.
Absolutely.
Before then, relationships were pretty paternal. They were dependent upon religion, legal, societal rules. And though women's rights had been coming along for many, many generations, it was with birth control that things changed radically.
Yeah.
And that during the late 60s, the glue that had held relationships together mainly dissolved. And so now we find that relationships are volitional. Unless both people bring themselves fully to the relationship, there's weaknesses. And if those weaknesses get in there deep enough, the relationships fail. And so this work is about strengthening the underlying emotional bonds. It's about strengthening how we process our psychological issues. It's about aligning our spiritual purpose. And when we do this work, then we have something that we value and that becomes essential and important to us, and that we want to do the right thing. It's not a burden to have a relationship.
It's a much bigger game. It's a much bigger game.
It's not something difficult to carry around. Commitment is the fabric upon which good relationships exist.
Well, it's interesting when we talk about commitment, what we're committed to. I had my stepson went through a traumatic breakup with his sort of first love, and they had committed to stay together forever. And he approached me and my wife and said, you know, aren't you guys committed to stay together forever? With the presumption that that's why we stay together, because we made this commitment. And I said to him, no, there are 28 items on our vision statement that we're committed to. And we see that as our best, you know, a path to staying together forever. But the primary commitment is far more rooted in growth and self-expression. And again, it's held in a vision. So there's a totally different orientation. I think, though my parents' relationship is fine, but I think they stayed together in large measure. I mean, they've worked it out, don't get me wrong, and I'm not trying to put them down, but that, the 60s relationship, they were together for other reasons, and they had to go through the turbulence of the changing times and have to redefine why they're in a relationship. Most of their friends didn't make it in the by the way department.
I want to share something that directly relates and connects to this, because I'm sure that there's a lot of people listening to this who are single.
Right.
And so from my perspective of a single woman, I'm in the middle of my life, and there's so many of us, men and women, that the holding the vision is not in relationship to the relationship with the other person. For me, holding my vision and being committed to me and my vision is the foundational structure of being in relationship with another person. And for me, a lot of that got lost. Like, I abdicated my standards. I abdicated so much because the places we come from, most of us in our society, you are not the first and foremost respectable. You get into a committed relationship, and then it's like for the sake of the relationship, for the sake of the relationship.
Bad bargain.
And
Bad bargain.
the truth is that for me, I abdicated so much of what was important to my own growth. Oh, well, I can make do with that. Oh, no, I have to cut that back. Or no, I shouldn't be doing this. Or, and then slowly you become smaller and smaller. And what I got in these last 2 years with Tom is the understanding that it's not, I don't want to say greatness, but the space that I take up within the knowledge of who I am and what I can stand for within my own strength, not power,
right.
Strength, is what gives me the foundation and the strength to hold the vision.
Okay. We need to take another break. Tom, I am so grateful that you took time to come on the show today. You have a new special report out called 7 Relationship Secrets, and I want to direct people towards that information. 7relationshipsecrets.com is the website for that. To get in touch with all of the things Tom is doing, you can go to tomfeldman.com, Tom, Feldman.com. Tom, I am so grateful you took the time to spend with us today to share your wisdom and your work.
Thank you so much, Freeman.
And for those of you listening,
and Liana.
Thank you, Tom.
For those of you listening, stay tuned. We'll be right back after these messages.
Welcome back to Cutting Edge Consciousness, thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
And we're back. Liana Chaouli sitting in for Barnett Bain, talking relationships, Liana.
Oh, wow. This is so dear to my heart, this whole topic, and the topic of relationships, period, not just male-female, not just romantic ones. And the truth is that Tom is such a master at bringing families together. I mean, his vast knowledge and wisdom of...
Well, it's lived. I mean, this is you were saying a PhD in relationships. The way you get a PhD in relationships is you move into a kind of self-awareness,
Right.
Compassionate self-awareness that allows me, you, Tom in this case, to really see the patterning and to make a commitment to moving through that and becoming the best me I can be and the best I can be in a relationship with all the people who are dear to me.
Yeah. And
I want to share an experience with you recently because you brought this to another level. At the risk of getting personal.
at the risk.
Yeah.
Come on,
Which I do
Freeman.
sometimes. I recently apologized to my brother, and it was interesting because the storyline from my history is that, he was the one, he was older. It wasn't, easy on me as a kid. It was rough with him as a brother. But we both co-created the patterning as adults. We locked into positions. We played it out. Had the opportunity, due to some tricky circumstances, tough life, family stuff to deal with, that he and I had to, or got to, is the language, interact over tricky stuff. And I took the opportunity to apologize for him, for the position I took towards him. And it was very interesting because a part of me didn't want to give up my position. And my wife and I, by the way, talk about this all the time, how we hook into positions habitually and how hard they are to give up.
Yeah.
So
that's a really beautiful point because, that saying that we all say, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
Or do you want to be kind? And
the thing is, there is nothing there is a dissolvement when I'm in the space of my vision. It dissolves.
Yeah.
The hatred and the anger and the vengeance.
Well,
and
what Tom's saying about, what you're talking about, recontextualizes everything. It's new eyes. You're actually seeing things differently, right?
I mean, I called him the other day. I called him the other day, and I was like giving my coach a report. This is what happened, and oh my God, and it's so exciting, and I could hear him smile, this big smile on the phone, and I could hear him. I was saying stuff like. So the sound, my sound bite sounded like this. Tom, I felt like I was 7 feet tall, and his like smile is getting bigger, and he goes, "You are, Liana. You are." I'm like, "No, I'm 5'2". "No, you're 7 feet tall." And the holding on to the wisdom which is embodied, and I don't want to say that I'm wise, but there is an understanding.
All right, I'll say you're wise. You're wise,
no.
Liana.
No, I don't want to say it like that because it sounds so like, but there is a wisdom that comes through. It's not that I am it, but if I allow me to be here, something much greater will flow through.
Right. Well, it's the offer of our authenticity. Look, when we are wise, that's not an ego play. That's about us. I often say this to clients. Your wisdom isn't in your head.
It's
your
here.
wisdom, is between your upper chest and your lower belly. I mean, we talk about a gut feeling or a heartfelt feeling or whatever. This is where the real wisdom lies. So when we're integrated, we're not eliminating the head, but we're saying it's integrated, where there's a sense of wholeness. And especially when you're aligned with a vision and how you want to show up in the world. Yeah. There's a grounded, centered, I know what I'm about, I know what I'm committed to, and I'm all about finding opportunities to express that in my actions, which is also what Tom was alluding to.
So this, I have a vision to do this with Tom, to do some of this work with Tom together.
Oh, you mean out in the world, in the workshop setting?
Out in the world,
Oh,
like what you and I want to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so like what you and I want to do, because I believe that, the foundational structure of our humanity, which never really gets taught to us. We're either lucky that we have a wonderful grandparent who sees us, the drama of the gifted child.
Yeah.
Like
Alice Moore's work.
Yeah. And so when we don't have one who's a seeing witness, Hitler didn't have a seeing witness.
No, he didn't.
Okay. And Tom does. Tom has the ability to teach you or to guide you or to present information that is so palpable that could be used on a daily basis. I've used this stuff with my daughter.
Right.
I mean, one of the first conversations I had with Tom was not in regards to a man and why I was broken up and what happened in my life, and I've had 2 marriages. It wasn't about that. It was about, how can I be a better mother?
Right.
So the being a better mother.
Well, this is huge. This is huge.
I mean, Tom, right? Did I not say that to you?
No.
That was it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally get it. The idea that
I said, Tom, listen, I've got this thing with my daughter, and my relationship with my daughter has been difficult. It's been partly good, partly difficult, partly mother-daughter. All mother-daughters have it, but she's my only child. I raised her alone. And one of the very key elements in the beginning of my work with him was, that actually works.
Yeah.
Being in this space actually works. I can actually see myself in a different place.
Well, it's the person, again, we're moving back to the person, the potential. I used the word want before, and I realize that's a tricky word, but let me use it in this moment. Who do I want to be in relation to my daughter? I mean, this is the kind of husband I want to be. Not that I am all the time, but that I aspire to be. We've talked about it often in terms of leadership. What's the opportunities for leadership, the opportunities to serve my vision, right, by stepping up in a particular way. This is powerful. This changes the game. This is not the effect of the wounded self, right? This isn't the wound is narcissistic. When we're in our wounds, when we're in our victimhood, we become very narcissistic. It's all me. But when we're in vision, we flipped to a different operating system, was the language you used, and I think that's accurate, where we're looking for ways of expressing our vision, right? And that level of ownership, which is part of the integration thread, where we go, wow, I'm willing to own all these patterns in service to where I'm going, is very different than hooking into the woundology,
Right.
to point back to something you said, where the wound is making it about the wound. It's
Right.
like whenever we call something a problem, we're feeding the beast. We've locked into a perception that holds the quote-unquote problem in place. But the moment we're aligned with a vision, the other side of the problem, what we're trying to create and generate, we find solutions in an instant to whatever the problem may be. Right?
That's I totally agree with that. The other thing that came up has been coming up for 25 years. You know, it's my relationship to my mother, my relationship to my sister, and I started with my relationship because it's not about them.
Right.
You know, I watch myself and notice myself morph and change and move and up level and down level, you know, throughout all these steps.
Right.
And I notice the difference in the quality of the relationship that I'm having.
Yeah.
And so Marianne talks a lot about this. She says, you know, whatever you're missing in a relationship is what you're not willing to bring to it.
Big time. And it's not about them, but here's an interesting fold in that. It is about the energy that we're
creating.
We're co-creating, because
That's right.
dynamics, you know, it's very important to own my part in a dynamic and my relationship with that dynamic and how I want to be and how it fits with my service to the vision. It isn't to pretend that there are people in my life who I don't hang out with much because the dynamic, they're not willing to give it up and it doesn't serve me. And so, you know, this again, I don't want to move back into that reactive place of my own recovery process, because that's not where I'm coming from. It's actually the other side of that where I go, you know, given what the offer is, this was what we're talking about with you, the no. You know, this is the very generous no, is that thank you, but no. It's a great offer. You know, someone else may want to do it with you, but at this point in my development, it doesn't serve my vision.
Yeah. You know, I want to bring one little thing in here, and it's directly correlated with this honoring and being accountable.
Okay.
You know, for those of us who are in this community, in the transformational community, many of us know the languaging, okay? We know exactly what to say, and I'm going to put myself top of that list.
Right.
And often, what is coming out of my mouth doesn't connect to spirit.
Yeah.
They're the right words.
Right.
But I've watched myself in situations where I've said the right thing and my gut is going, you know, it's like.
That's important.
So we have, all of us have.
This is the integration piece,
yeah,
right?
and
This
all
is
of
the
us have
being
it.
piece.
It's like, I know what to say. I know exactly what to say. And it's going to come out of my mouth, but it's not going to be authentic.
Right.
You know? So for me to find the languaging and to find the beingness within myself to be gracious
Right.
and say no.
Right.
That was so big for me.
And is so big. This is another critical part. This is not something you arrive one day and you go, oh, I figured it out.
I woke up one morning.
Because, look, this patterning is really sticky. It sticks to us, right?
it
And
is.
so, again, you know, moving back to this versus reacting, relating, how am I relating to the part of me that shows up that isn't so great? I mean, that tends to, you know, I have a whole victim game I play, especially on my wife, and we're both keen to it, and neither of us is that fond of it, but we really have to hold that that's a big patterning. And my being, how I'm really showing up, not the words, because I'm as clever as the next guy. I mean, look, you know, my wife has said, you know, don't play life coach psychologist on me.
Don't do that.
Yeah, let's get down to what's really happening here and move past it.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a great point.
That
It's not
dropping into the but you know what? And the smarter we are, unfortunately, in our head, I've noticed the more cunning, baffling,
the more
empowered
elaborate our BS
the
story
more,
is.
the more cunning, baffling, yeah. And so I've noticed that for me, like in the last year with Tom, less is much more. Yeah. Especially for me. I don't know how it is for other people.
So look, this is so critical.
So for me to just go, zip it, Liana. Just zip it.
Boy, that's hard for you and
Oh
I,
my God!
Liana.
Just zip it.
We talkers, boy, oh boy.
You know, I mean, Scott Cody said it. You know, he said, "Can you do 5 days of silence?"
Yeah. Can you be what it is you want to express? And there was from my Christian tradition, I grew up Catholic, and the Jesuits had the gift of the Jesuits educating me. There's a line from St. Francis where he says, go out and teach the gospel, and if you have to, use words. In other words, don't talk about it. You have to be it. You have to show up and be it. You really want to be compassionate and loving. Yeah. Here, go be it. That's the service to the message, as it were, in this case, the Gospels, right?
I mean, there's an exercise that we've done. You and I have done it. Bev and Tom and Silver, we've all done it. Right. And that is standing on one side of the room and calling someone to you with your beingness, to bring that person in an exercise to draw them in, to draw them towards one.
Right. And this, of course, is through the Institute of Embodied Wisdom.
Right.
The principle being, and the program we've both done is Art of Leadership Mastery, the principle being is, am I really showing up in a compelling way? Am I aligned with my vision in a way where I can express it out in the world and seeing how people really do respond to it? Yeah.
And so the embodiment of authenticity is, I think, the key to all of this.
Yeah. No, it is. It absolutely is. Liana, I want to shift for a moment here, because before we end in a few minutes, I want to be sure we get out information on you. I love your work, and we've had you on before, so we haven't spent a lot of time working on this. But here's why I bring it up right now. One of the ways that I show up in the world is in my appearance. How much it's been a big deal for me to claim my looks and to claim, and often it requires help. Thankfully, I have you as a dear friend, because there's a me that wants to come out, but I don't know how to express it. And so Image Therapists International and the work that you do is very similar. It correlates to this entire theme that there's a self inside everyone that longs to come out and be expressed, and there's a vision of how I want to be, but I don't know what to wear. I don't know how to align my vision with choices so I can clearly express, and as you were kind of pointing out in all of this conversation, attract to me, that which is going to match up with my vision. So I want to transition to that for just a few minutes. Do you mind?
No, please. It's the, it's the essence of who we are. So you are a masterpiece in total perfection, just the way God made us, And we forget that the same source that made rivers and mountains and forests and the smell on a baby's neck, that same force has created you.
And textiles.
And clothing. And there's designers out there who design and design and design without a single thought in mind that it's going to go and live on a body. And so what I want to say is, the reason why I created image therapy is in order for people to become empowered in what looks good on them.
Okay, so I would like to send people to your website.
Okay.
I don't remember it off the top of my head. It's
Image Therapists with an S at the end.com.
ImageTherapists.com.
And on YouTube, there's an Image Therapists channel. And
right.
Yeah.
And there's some great videos
There's
there.
some funny video footage on there.
I just call Liana and say, could you swing by my house and tell me if I look? No.
Marsha Weeder does it.
I know, that's
you
hysterical.
do it. Yeah. Jack does it. It's like, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. No, it's a tremendous opportunity to, again, get our choices in alignment with a sense of ourselves that we want to offer in the world. It's not about vanity. It's really about giving our gift. You embody that. I love having you on. I look forward to, because Barnett will be out of town again, having you back to guest co-host. And for all of you listening, I encourage you to go to Tom's website and go to Liana's website. Utilize these resources and keep coming back to Cutting Edge Consciousness. Thanks for tuning in.